In 1976, the richest man in America died alone in an airplane, his body so emaciated that investigators had to use fingerprints to confirm his identity. His fingernails had grown into yellow spirals. His hair hung past his shoulders in gray tangles. He weighed 90 pounds. This was Howard Hughes, the man who had once dated Hollywood's most beautiful women, built the fastest planes in the world, and controlled an empire worth billions. He had spent the final years of his life locked in darkened hotel rooms, terrified of germs, refusing to be touched, communicating only through handwritten notes to a rotating staff of handlers who were forbidden to look him in the eye. The question isn't how he became so powerful. The question is why power made him so afraid. Hughes was born into control. His father invented a revolutionary oil drill bit and built a fortune from the Texas oil boom, but he died when Howard was 18. His mother, obsessive about cleanliness and disease, died 2 years later. At 20, Hughes inherited 75% of the most profitable tool company in the world. He had money, he had no parents, and he had already learned that the world was dangerous, that germs could kill you, that loss came without warning. So he did what made sense to him. He tried to control everything. He moved to Hollywood because movies were new, chaotic, and conquerable. He didn't want to be an actor. He wanted to own the process. He produced films, rewrote scripts on set, fired directors mid-shoot, and reshot entire movies if they didn't match his vision. When he made Hell's Angels, an aerial war epic, he spent $4 million, an unthinkable sum in 1930. He hired pilots to film real dogfights in the sky. When sound technology arrived halfway through production, he scrapped the film and started over. Critics said it was madness. The movie made a profit. And Hughes learned something dangerous. If you refuse to compromise, if you spend enough and control enough, you can bend reality. But control has a cost that doesn't show up immediately. It shows up in the people around you. Hughes began dating actresses, not because he loved them, but because they were beautiful and he could. He controlled their careers, decided what roles they took, sometimes kept them under contract just so other studios couldn't have them. He was obsessed with Jane Russell's breasts, designing a custom bra for her to wear in The Outlaw, measuring the angles and curves with engineering precision. He was obsessed with Katharine Hepburn, then Ava Gardner, then Jean Peters. He courted them with extravagance, then suffocated them with surveillance and demands. They all left, not because he wasn't charming, because he couldn't let them be anything other than objects he arranged. Then he turned to planes. If Hollywood was about image, aviation was about physics, controllable, provable. Hughes founded his own aircraft company and designed planes himself. He test flew prototypes personally, breaking speed records, pushing limits, nearly dying in multiple crashes. In 1946, he flew the H-4 Hercules, the largest plane ever built, for 1 mile over Long Beach Harbor, just to prove it could fly. The press called it the Spruce Goose and mocked it as a government-funded failure. Hughes didn't care. He had proven to himself that he could make 8 tons of wood lift off the ground. That was control. But the crashes stayed with him. The worst one happened in 1946, when an experimental aircraft he was piloting lost power and plummeted into a Beverly Hills neighborhood. The plane exploded. Hughes was pulled from the wreckage with a crushed chest, broken ribs, third-degree burns, and a skull fracture. Doctors gave him morphine for the pain. He kept taking it for years, and the pain never really stopped. Not the physical kind, and not the other kind, the kind that comes from realizing your body can betray you. that even if you control the design and the engineers and the flight path, you can still fall. After the crash, something shifted. Hughes became harder to reach. He fired employees for tiny mistakes. He installed listening devices in his offices to monitor conversations. He bought politicians, judges, and senators, not because he needed favors, but because he needed to know they were his. He moved from hotel to hotel, renting entire floors, covering windows with blackout curtains, sealing gaps in the doors with tape to keep out dust. His aides were instructed to place objects on his desk using tissues, never touching the items directly. If someone broke protocol, Hughes would sit in silence, staring until they left the room. He was building a kingdom where nothing unexpected could enter, and it worked for a while. By the 1950s, Hughes controlled TWA Airlines, a major Hollywood studio, vast stretches of Las Vegas real estate, defense contracts with the U.S. government, and a private intelligence network. He was one of the most powerful men in the world, but he was also disappearing. He stopped attending meetings in person, stopped being photographed, stopped eating regular meals. He would watch the same movie dozens of times in a row, projected on the wall of his darkened suite. He wrote 3,000-word memos instructing his staff how to open a can of fruit, which hand to use, how many layers of tissue to hold, the exact angle to peel back the lid. The control wasn't protecting him anymore. It was consuming him. But he couldn't stop, because if he stopped controlling, what was left? The fear that had driven him, the fear of contamination, of betrayal, of loss, had become the architecture of his entire existence. He wasn't managing a business empire. He was managing his terror. And terror, once you feed it, becomes insatiable. In 1966, Hughes sold his TWA stock for $500 million and moved to Las Vegas permanently, taking over the top floor of the Desert Inn. He never left the building again. He bought the hotel so they couldn't evict him. Then he bought 6 more casinos. Then he bought television stations, airports, and mining claims. Not because he wanted them, because ownership was the only relationship he understood. His wife, Jean Peters, lived in a separate house. They spoke occasionally by phone. She filed for divorce in 1970. He didn't contest it. He had already decided people were vectors for chaos. By the early 70s, Hughes had stopped cutting his hair or nails. He sat naked in a white leather chair, watching movies, taking codeine, surrounded by Mormon aides who had been chosen for their obedience. He moved between hotels in the dead of night, carried on a stretcher, his face covered. The empire still functioned, but the man at the center had become a ghost. His instructions were delivered through intermediaries. His handwriting became erratic, paranoid, illegible. He obsessed over trivial details while billion-dollar deals collapsed. He wanted control, but he had lost contact with the thing he was controlling. When he died in that airplane flying from Acapulco to Houston, his body was so deteriorated the doctors initially refused to believe he was 70 years old. Kidney failure, malnutrition, neglect. The man who had built an empire on precision had spent his final decade wasting away in rooms he never left, terrified of the very air that kept him alive. He had achieved total control, and total control had made him a prisoner. Here's what nobody tells you about power. It doesn't corrupt you with excess, it corrupts you with fear. The more you have, the more you realize how easily it can be taken, so you tighten your grip. You cut out the people who question you. You eliminate the variables. You build walls. And eventually, the walls aren't keeping the world out. They're keeping you in. Hughes didn't lose his mind because he was rich. He lost it because he believed the lie that control could save him. It never does. It just makes the cage smaller. And the terrible thing, the thing he probably knew at the end, is that he built it himself.